If it's not
Trust me,
one thing, it's
I
something else.
understand. Yeah, because every single time I was like, oh, well, my interview is going to be in like an hour. And I was like, oh, just got
Yeah,
finished.
yeah, yeah. I know, and I saw like I was checking every so often if you've seen the message, and I was like, she didn't see it. And I was like, I have a feeling she's gonna check right before the interview, and
And I
I was like,
did.
I felt so bad, but I'm glad it wasn't like too much trouble to
Oh,
push it
you're fine.
forward. So, well, first and foremost, I'd like to thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, what you said you're in Central Time. Where are you located at?
I'm in Texas.
Okay, here in Texas. That's
Yeah.
pretty a hot spot for bodybuilding.
Oh,
There's a
yeah,
lot
sure.
there's a lot
I
of
love it
competitors
so good.
there. Yeah. Has have you were you like born and raised there, or are you from somewhere else?
No, I was actually born in Indiana and then I got adopted and I grew up in Michigan and
Okay.
then I came down here for college.
Okay. Interesting. So at what age, if you don't mind me asking, were you adopted?
Um, okay, so foster care at 4, I think I was adopted. I'd have to look back at the actual year, but I'm pretty sure it was like 8 or 9.
Okay. So you were, you weren't like super young, so that had to be that has to be an interesting story, I'm sure. We don't really have a lot of time to get into that, but that's a, interesting beginning of your life. A lot of people, probably can't, relate to that. How at what point did you end up like getting interested in fitness and training?
Well, I'd say given my past, coping with a lot of things that I went through as a child, I definitely turned to the gym, but like my first alley was definitely like basketball, volleyball. And then I got poached for track by this Marine
Poached.
coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was poached. He literally looked at me one day. He's like, "You're gonna run for me, and you're gonna like it." And I went and ran for him, and he was an amazing guy. Um, for the time being, like he was my coach. But
Hmm.
you know, I think since I was like 13, I had like heavily like lifted weights, ran, like worked
Hmm.
out, and then I mean, I haven't really stopped. So sure.
You said that like was that you said that was like part of a coping mechanism for a lot of things that might have, occurred in your youth.
Yeah, I think it was for me, it was like I think the gym really became like my safe place because
Hmm.
like obviously home environment and like the situation that me and my siblings were in, even after getting out of like what we did, I really struggled as a kid to kind of like wrap my mind around like what we had been through. I mean, sometimes it's still hard for me.
Yeah.
But I go to the gym and like I can just turn my brain off. Like I don't have to think about anything. I don't have to worry about anything. I don't have to answer my phone. Like I can literally just drown all of my thoughts in like lifting weights.
Yeah. It's a place like where you can just kind of shut off, right? Like shut off all the noise from, the outside and just enjoy and be in the moment, right? Like that seems to be, like what a lot of people get out of training. I've noticed that as I speak to more and more competitors and just coaches, it's like it's a place, like you said, a good point, good way of saying it's like a safe place
Yeah,
where where it's really you're just extremely like focused on the task at hand.
for sure.
Yeah.
I definitely alleviated like a lot of the stress I had as a kid. So like
Hmm.
I mean, I go to the gym and like turn my brain off, and then I meet like all these amazing people. And
Hmm.
like, I think I've been known as like Buff Barbie for like God knows how long. I don't even remember who gave me that name. I think it was like one of my guy friends at the time. He's like, he's like, girl, I know you like pink and all, but like, you buff. And then he was just like, I think I'm gonna call you Buff Barbie. And then, I kind of like leaned into it. And
Yeah,
now
yeah.
it's Nari the Barbie, but still Buff Barbie at the end of the
Right,
day.
right. That guy friends are always like the ones that can come up with like all these nicknames.
Yeah.
Guy like gym guys. I I remember like when I used to go to all these different gyms when I was young, and I don't think I knew people's names. I think I just knew like their nicknames or what people called them. Like
Really?
like yeah, like I've known people for years and not known their real name because I just see them at the gym and you just call them whatever their nickname is or whatever people
Yeah.
call them. And so it's funny how like that stuff really sticks throughout the years.
For sure. I mean, I run into the issue sometimes because
Mhm.
I like meet a lot of people now because of bodybuilding. And I
Uh-huh.
feel so bad when I can't remember someone's name, especially when like most of the people I know, because I mean, like you're in Texas, like a lot of people don't look different, even though like we could all be like different races. Like
Uh-huh.
everybody's my skin tone,
Yeah.
from all over, and they all look the same. And I'm just like, this is what I'll do. I literally like introduce my soulmate, which is my best friend, and I'll be like,
Mhm.
oh, this is my girl Santana, da da da. And I'll be like, Santana, introduce yourself. And then she'll be like, oh, what's your name? And I'll be like, yeah, got it. So I'm not
That's
usually bad about names, but like lately,
yeah, yeah.
a lot of people. So
That's funny. Yeah, it reminds me of an episode. I don't know if you ever watched like Seinfeld, but
mhm.
there's one episode where he's like can't remember the girl's name. So he's like like she goes to the bathroom, he's like looking through her purse. He had like Elaine come in and try to ask her name, and like she somehow avoided saying her name. So it was just so funny. It just reminds me of that when you say that. Like
Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
it gets wild.
Mhm.
So how did you get into competing? So you get, you start training, you've been training for a while, you do all these sports. At what point do you decide, okay, I'm gonna get into bodybuilding, I'm gonna compete?
So I had been down in Houston for like a year. I was done with my freshman year of college, and I ended up just like running into this crowd of people, like they were real lively and everything else. But like one specific person, he pulled me to the side and he was like, bro, like your physique for you, like having never done like bodybuilding, like you look like
Mhm.
a bodybuilder. And what's hilarious is the fact that like I didn't even know what bodybuilding was. I did not know.
Like
I'm obsessed with
bodybuilding,
it
what's that?
now, but I didn't know what it was. And he's just like, I'm gonna get you in contact with this coach. And it happened to be his friend who was a trainer at the gym that I used to
Mhm.
work out at. And he was just like, bro, look at her physique. And a lot of gym bros and everything else. So they're like, no, we need her to compete. We need her to compete. So like
Mhm.
they helped me like, get in connection with like the people I needed to. And then like definitely helped me get in contact with like posing coaches and like judges that could like look at my physique before I step on stage and stuff. And I mean, from then on, my first show was 2021, and then like my second and third show were last year. So yeah.
Yeah, that's I saw like on your page in 22 you won the overall. Is that right?
Yeah. So I did Battle of Texas
Mhm.
in 22, well, end of 22, because it was definitely end of the year.
Mhm.
And I ended up sweeping the entire show. I didn't think I
It's
would.
amazing.
I, like entered in every category I could. That's kind of like my strategy because like you wouldn't think that I'm like a nervous person. I'm very outgoing, very loud. But I get on stage and I swear the knees buckle. Oh, when I tell you, like if you zoom in on videos, you can look at my knee just like going side to side. And you're like,
Mhm.
okay, just smile a little harder. You're
You're
okay.
like shaking.
Literally. And yeah, no, I entered into every category. So then I went on stage for like what, novice, and then
Mhm.
I came down with a medal. And then I went back up for the next category, came down with a medal, and then went back up for the open, came down with a medal. And then they're like, all right, overall, get up here. And I was like, overall. I was like, this is what we want. Because I mean, like my first year, I was like really heartbroken that I didn't do as well
Mhm.
as my second year.
Mhm.
Especially when it's your first time getting bodybuilding, like you feel like you performed a certain way and everything else. So I was just getting into the world. So like I definitely cried the first night of my show.
Mhm.
But different tears the second go around,
Mhm. Mhm.
And yeah, no, I ended up sweeping it. I had a little interview at the end. Like I don't even remember what I said in the interview. I haven't even seen the interview since then. But yeah, no, it was surreal. I won't lie. It was a rough year. So yeah.
So it was a rough year in what sense? In like a competitive sense or personal life?
Both. I feel
Both.
like I'm just competitive everywhere.
Mhm.
I didn't mention it before, but I'm also in ROTC.
Okay.
And
Okay.
as you know, I leave Saturday for officer candidate school for
Mhm.
the Marine Corps.
Mhm.
And doing that alongside with bodybuilding and then maintaining like our training, it's
Mhm.
not easy.
Right,
Like I
right.
think I remember me at like one of our balls, like with my meal prep at our military ball.
I wonder what everyone like thought of that. Yeah,
No,
they're
they
they're like,
probably
"What
think
are
I'm
you
like
doing?"
psycho or something. They're like this
Yeah.
weird. Oh my gosh. But yeah, no, like maintaining that, and then like obviously there are high standards for like Marine officer candidates. to
Mm-hmm.
have like really high grades and everything else. So like I was shooting for a 4.0 at the time. I had 6 classes.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't seen my family in probably like a year or two.
Right.
And then, I mean, I had PT for the military. I still had like weekend, like field exercises where I'd have to be out in the suck,
Mm.
in the dirt and mud. And then I'd
That's
have to come back
unbelievable.
Monday and do a
Yeah.
freaking leg day. It was tough. And then I
Yeah.
had to do a rigorous cut because I actually ended up in a situation where previous coach I had, I don't think we were like meshing well. I think he pulled on a lot in his life and really couldn't maintain like my like schedule that was kind of like all over the place. But like I
Mm-hmm.
was like, you know what, you get me in contact with someone that like I can work with and like we'll make something happen.
Yeah.
So then I got in contact with a new coach, which is Luke Miller. He's amazing. And we had 5 weeks to prep for last year, like genuinely.
Wow. So
So
when
I
you're
tell you, it was rigorous. It was
yeah,
rigorous.
I mean, I can't even imagine dealing with all that. And then training and dieting and then coming down to 5 weeks to prep for the show. That's insane. Now, were you already in like decent shape where you were able to get down, in 5 weeks, or did you really have
I
to crash?
I felt like I was just like running full speed, like
Hmm.
down a freaking straightaway. Because I mean, like obviously I was already in prep because I'm a previous coach, but let's
Oh, I
just
see.
say
I see what you mean. Okay.
he was a little bit more negligent. And for me and my situation and all that I have going on, like I need a coach that's like there for every little thing.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't working with us. So once I switched, I had sent him my photos and then I sent him my stage photos from like the year prior. And Luke looked at me. He was like, "You're not stepping on stage this year. You don't look anywhere near where I need you to be for 5 weeks
Hmm.
out." And I was like,
Hmm.
"Bet, I'll look how you want me to look." So I started working my butt off, like every day. Like you wouldn't even see me in the classroom as much as I was like on a cardio machine in the
Hmm.
gym. Like I was in the gym like 2, 3 times a day, sauna, cardio, lifting, and
Hmm.
then I think my cardio got up to like what 90 minutes, almost 90 minutes a day.
Hmm.
We won't talk about calories, but let's just say like they were
Yeah.
low.
Yeah. Yeah.
And meal plan definitely had to be geared towards like you have to be on stage at this
Yeah.
time. And I think we didn't actually know I was going to step on stage until 2 weeks out from the show, 1.5.
Mm. So
I
he
didn't
wasn't
sign up.
he wasn't sure if you're gonna make it even 2 weeks out.
I mean, because I mean, Luke didn't know me. And
Right.
he hadn't heard of me. Obviously, I'm like some amateur NPC competitor that probably just like wants to step on stage and look pretty in a suit and everything else. But
Hmm.
I'm like, little do you know, I will work for it. Just give me directions, I will follow.
Right. Right.
And I think I didn't really like, kind of like gain his like real like respect, like, holy shit, this girl works hard until he saw me like that 2 weeks out. He's like,
Hmm.
you look better than some of the packages I put on, like for someone your age. Cause I mean, like
Hmm.
I'm 21. So
Right.
I it's just crazy. And then at the time I was 20. So like, I mean, me being 20 and having a physique like that, like
Yeah.
pretty crazy. And then I worked for it. So yeah, no, like 1.5 weeks out, he was like, you're stepping on stage. I don't think I signed up for my shows until like 4 days before.
Mm. That's insane. I mean, that's insane. But the fact that you can get into that kind of shape within 5 weeks, not that, I'm sure you don't want to do that every time, but it's like, but the fact that you can do it is incredible. I mean, there's, you know, that's an elite level like type of mindset to have, to get that accomplished.
I think until like the day before show day, I didn't know I was going to be able to do the Olympia Amateur. Now
Mhm.
that's where Luke thought I was actually delusional. He's like, this girl, she's on cloud nine. I don't want to kill her dreams, but like, I'm gonna be honest with her. And he knew I could take it because obviously you don't join the military and like can't
Mhm.
take like someone being real with you. And he was like, you're not stepping on stage and you're delusional if you think you're gonna try and attack your pro card right now.
Mhm.
And I was like, bet. I'm gonna disregard that. I mean, like I respect it, but like you don't know me. So I like worked my butt off, and then like like the show ended up going so well, like to the point where one of the judges pulled me aside and he was like, "I'm gonna be at the Olympia Amateur. I better see you on that stage."
Uh-huh.
And I didn't sign up for Olympia Amateur until the night of my show. Bala, Texas. I kid you not.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, like I got there, it's crazy. I think I was 2 spots away from a guard on like a 5 week
Ah,
good prep.
yeah.
Two
Yeah.
spots away. That's crazy. Imagine if I just had double that.
Right, right. If you had a full, yeah, if you had a full prep, I mean, no doubt you would have got your pro card.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's insane. So like what made you go into like the wellness like division? Why didn't you, go into like a different division? Like
I
bikini or something like
think
that?
that's more so because of like, I mean, I know what I look like slim and like
Hmm.
what we would consider like stage weight, and then me like naturally just like slim, like no
Hmm.
working out at all. I just hold weight in my legs. I always
Yeah.
have, because I also ran track for like what, 7, 8 years.
Yeah.
So that's just naturally where the weight went. And then like I obviously like after asking my coach like his honest opinion, I'm like, okay, do you think I should be in this division? I mean, like if I got his okay and he has pros under his name in many divisions, so he knows
Hmm.
what the body's supposed to look like in each, I'm gonna run with what he says.
Right,
Plus, I
right.
mean, I really love wellness. It still gives me, that like muscular look, but like still makes me feel like very feminine at the same
Hmm.
time. And I don't really want to give that away. Um, and I mean, I think it works well with the military, even though they like hate when I bodybuild, but like they respect it, but they hate when I bodybuild because it makes me a slower runner. But oh, no one cares.
Yeah, well, anytime you add like muscle, or weight to yourself, and like it's gonna affect your cardio like performance, the kind of cardio that they would require.
Yeah.
I just remember like when I was doing a lot of grappling and wrestling, I used to run all the time and forever. And then once I started putting on a lot of muscle, and I tried to go run, I was like, whoa. I was like, it was almost like I was running in a different body. Like it was like I wasn't used to it. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, I can't run the same way like I used to. Yeah, it's no, I completely get it. That's wild. So I mean, wellness is really like I feel like it's really like just taking over like the female divisions. Like it's really like a spotlight now on wellness. Um,
Hmm.
it came in with a lot of hype from like the Hispanic countries and things like
Hmm.
that when IFBB adopted it, and of course there was like people that were against it, people that were for it, but I had a feeling, I was like, there's no way this is not going to be an amazing division, because I'm like, look at how well like bikini is doing, and this is essentially like a feminine physique, kind of like bikini esque, but with muscle. Like so, and it's like, of course it's gonna do well. There's no way that it's not. So, which is exactly what happened. What do you think about like the rewards? Who they're rewarding, like Fran and some other competitors, on the pro level. Do you think they got it right, or you think would you rather see like a different kind of wellness physique? Because there are some variations to the girls. So
I feel like, I mean, like this isn't just me being like a super fan. Fran is undeniable. Like you
hmm.
look at anybody else on like the actual Olympia stage, no one else looks like Fran.
Yeah.
I mean, like there's some that come close. Isa comes close.
Hmm.
I don't necessarily feel like Angela comes as close, but
Yeah.
I definitely feel like Fran like is that baseline. You can beat her physique, like you deserve to be on that stage, you know?
Yeah.
But I think where wellness may start to struggle is like you won't really see anyone else crowned unless like Fran retires, because
Yeah.
she like, I mean, like you just look at her vascularity and like how she bounces well and how she like goes into her peak week. It's like she just does every little thing right to where it's like once she steps on that stage, the entire room goes quiet. No one else
Yeah.
can step on stage and like command it that way, you know? And I think like maybe another problem that wellness might have is the fact that like even just teardrops. I noticed that like a lot of like wellness girls, like how their quads develop and then how their teardrops develop, like they end up looking completely different, even though we're all in the same division.
Hmm.
And I think it may be hard to continue to hold everyone basically to like friend, even though like you could have like somewhat of a really nice physique that is almost the exact same, but it's going to look just a little bit different because everyone develops differently.
Yeah. I completely get what you're saying. To the
Yeah.
point with Fran, I don't see her ever losing, like you said, unless
Me
she
neither.
decides to move on, which, probably at some point she will. Um, I think Issa's right behind her, but still a big gap in between them, I feel like,
Yes.
and so it's just gonna be tough because as I look in at Fran's, like off season and just her training and her nutrition, everything is always on point. She doesn't get too big in the off season. She stays like she's an athlete 365 days out of a year. She doesn't
Yeah.
get out of shape. And so whenever it's time to compete for her, it's, generally once a year,
Mhm.
she's she puts 120% into her prep, and she blows everybody out of the water. It's going to be very, very difficult. I mean, impossible to really beat her. But as far as like the different looks, what I've noticed? Sometimes you'll have wellness girls, and I think you're starting to see it more now that more girls are coming into division. You'll have girls that are very well developed in their lower half. What I mean by that is they almost have very muscular legs, like almost like building style legs in the wellness type of physique. And then you have somebody like Fran who is like more like a bigger bikini. And so I wonder how the judges are going to kind of morph those two looks together, who they're going to reward, because right now they're rewarding someone like Fran, but I
Right.
wonder if later on it's going to change. Maybe the girls are going to start getting more bodybuilder
Um,
style.
I really don't know because obviously I respect all competitors, but like I don't think like I mean at least from like what I've heard from like a lot of judges and like from other wellness competitors that are like high in the industry, like looking that muscular, it's a very like thin line you have to walk because obviously
Mm-hmm.
like you need to put on muscle, you need to build that physique, you need to have like that kind of like coke bottle shape without like having too much upper body.
Right.
But like you're seeing like a lot of girls that like their legs are freaking crazy.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's necessarily like what they were pushing for wellness to look like. As you said, it like looks like a almost like a bigger bikini.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just a lot more muscle, a lot more development.
Mm-hmm.
But like Fran, like you look at Fran and you don't think like, oh, she's so muscular that like, she
Right.
doesn't look like how a bikini would if you just size them up a little bit. Like Fran, like she really looks like a Barbie doll. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
kid you not, like you see her on stage, nice long blonde locks and like everything else, and like the way she just carries herself, like I don't think that they'll change too much from Fran, but it'll be hard to find another competitor like her.
Right, right, and I hope you're right, and I think you are absolutely right that after her, what do you do? Because that's gonna be the moment of truth. Right now it's easy. She's there. It's easy to crown her, but it's like, what do you do after her? And that's gonna be the question. I really hope that they keep it more towards that style. Um, yeah, because some of these girls, man, I'll look at their Instagram page or their legs, or like training, or even competitively on stage, and I'm like, I mean, if you told me, just showed me the picture of their legs, I'm like, this might be like a bodybuilding division, like if I didn't see the upper body, so they do get, which doesn't bother me from an aesthetic point of view, because I like to see muscle, but I'm just curious in the division how that's going to be look, but we won't know, of course, until that time comes. So
Yeah, I mean, we definitely won't know, but like, just man, I doubt, like I really doubt they'll change. Like I'm hoping like the more my body develops, the more like muscle I put on, like, I don't look too muscular. Cause like that's
right.
why like I had to stop doing upper body last season. Cause when I
Mhm.
put on like freaking weight and I cut, my upper body ends up looking crazy. And I'm like, you're not
Yeah.
in figure. Stay in your lane. So
Stay in
I
your
like
lane.
I literally cut like all my upper body days down to 1 or to 0 and
Yeah.
then keep pushing forward. But like, I mean, I respect all the competitors in this field, but I just don't think that what that is exactly what they're looking for. You
Yeah.
know, like I think they're looking for that muscular, but still like very, very like bikini style
Mhm.
type wellness.
Mhm.
Cause I mean,
More
if we
feminine
start
look.
to mesh like, you know, like almost like a actual like bodybuilding physique as far as legs go, like it might change our division completely or like get rid of it again. You
Sure.
know?
Sure, sure. No, absolutely. Because I mean, that's kind of what they did with the women's bodybuilding and everything. They were just like it's too big. Who's interested in this? Very, very niche group of people are interested in like women's bodybuilding. So they pulled them out and made women's physique. Now, of course, they're women's bodybuilding's back now and that now being represented now. I think the champ, I forgot her name, Shaw, I think is the Shaw's the last name. I can't remember now, but she looks great, and she's still big. I mean, she's a bodybuilder style physique, but she's a lot more streamlined than they used to be. So I think they're going in the right direction there. But yeah, it'll be interesting. Is that something that you're concerned with? Like get like
My
losing
upper body or like my lower body?
overall? Yeah, I guess like your lower body. Are you concerned with like putting on too much muscle? Are you concerned with like losing some femininity as the muscle
I
grows?
definitely still want a feminine look. I mean,
Mhm.
that's why I chose wellness, you know, like best of both worlds. This is where my body kind of already is. You
Mhm.
know, it's a great baseline. I carry weight in my legs, but I don't want to necessarily lose like what I consider for myself to look feminine. Cause I
Right.
know like the more like I do upper body, the more I work out like with my upper body, I start looking like a linebacker. And I don't necessarily like it because I mean, you look at me, I'm pretty broad shouldered for like only 5'3".
Yeah.
And I mean, you look at wellness and I'm just like, okay, now I can look like a Barbie doll, but
Yeah.
still keep my muscle.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
No,
think
I
in
get
the
it.
future, I'll be worried more so about how I maintain like my upper body and then like how much muscle I can put on my lower body. Cause I
Mhm.
mean, like I'm in a unique situation trying to still bodybuild, like while still pursuing like my career
Sure.
in the military. So it's already hard enough for me to put on muscle right now.
Yeah.
Thankfully, my genetics allow me to, but I still feel like if I just had like enough time in the world, yeah, I could have been a pro probably like 20, you know?
Right. Right.
But I mean, I don't think there's going to be too much muscle for me in my legs. I've seen the way that my quads develop. I don't see them like, you know, looking like off from like the wellness look as it is like right now. Um, but yeah, no, just maintaining my upper body, not letting it get too linebackerish, you know,
Mhm. Mhm.
and just walking that line. I might have to take time off though and just build for a very like long time because it's going to be hard to maintain this like within the first 2 years of my career as an officer. It just won't be possible.
Sure. Sure. Well, I mean, um, I mean, bodybuilding, I don't want to just say like it's a hobby because some people, for a lot of people, it is a career, but a lot of times it's like a secondary career if it is one. A lot of times, like people, I just talked to a lady, she's a bikini competitor, and like she's a nurse, but she's bodybuilds on the side. I mean, she's well known, and you know she's up there as far as like bodybuilding is concerned, but it's like a secondary, career. And so for a lot of bodybuilders, unless you're like in the top like one or two or like three, competitors in the Olympia, it's a secondary career. So I think you have your priorities,
Yeah,
set up right. So yeah, yeah, but building muscle is not as easy as some people like think it. It's a full-time job, right?
it is.
Yeah, yeah. So what is your like goals for? I know you said you might take some time off. Have you thought about competing at all this next year, or you're just going to completely kind of cancel it out?
Well, that is up to the handy dandy Luke Miller. You know,
Yeah.
I fully trust him in this process. Like, obviously, I'll toss up shows that I want to compete in, but like, he's never going to put a bad package on stage just because someone
Hmm.
wants to step on. So, if I come back from officer candidate school and like I haven't lost too much,
Hmm.
we will stab, you know, either the pro card or just go for another open overall. So I just stay qualified for now.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, but I would really like to take a stab at my pro card this year if I can.
Yeah, but you're so
100.
close.
I
Yeah,
I
you're
think
so
I'm like,
close.
honestly, yes, I think my size was smaller than I would have liked last year, but we were on like a crazy cut, 5 week prep. Like, I think given like when I come home, I will have like exactly like 15, 16 weeks to work with.
Mhm.
I think out from nationals, which will be in
Yeah,
Irving, which is perfect for me. No stress. I can just make a drive and come back home.
yeah.
Um, but if I can't compete this year, I really don't think I'll compete again until probably 25 or 26.
Oh, so that
Not
long.
age wise, but year wise.
Yeah, yeah, I
Only
got you.
because like, so obviously officer candidate school is like really cardio based and everything else. That's why I say like when I come back, like I may look completely different than I do now,
Hmm.
which is why I bolt up until like today. Um, but when I come back, depending on how I look, we'll compete. If we don't compete, I have a very small window to, if I don't compete this year, just get qualified and then probably just wait it out until like March of next year and see if I can do like an Arnold, something like that.
Yeah.
And then I get sent again for 6 months of training. Physique will probably be gone for at least the first month, until they give us a little bit more freedom to, like on our own time to train how we
Right.
want. But like the training at the basic school it's geared at being an amphibious marine. I'll say that.
Hmm.
So like I doubt I'll retain as much muscle unless I can, routinely get in the gym.
Sure.
If not, after that 6 months, I have another like 3 or 4 months of like job training for my specific job that I'm going to be assigned. And then those first 2 years of my career are all about my Marines.
Mm.
So I can't I can't dedicate any of my time to
Yeah.
me at that point. Like it's only about them. It's about like learning like what type of leadership style I want, like as an officer, and like really getting my footing as like a young butter bar.
Hmm.
And because I don't want to mess that up, that comes first always. Like I
Right.
may not be able to compete again, probably until like 2025, 2026. And even then, Luke may make me take like a full year to build to where he wants me and then compete like the year after.
Yeah. Well, you're so young.
Yeah,
It's not even a big deal, It's like you'll
it's
bounce
not.
back so quick.
But obviously, after our call, like I'm a very ambitious person. I
Uh,
don't ever want to say, like, oh, well, the stage is always going to be there. You always have these options, da da da. Like, for all I
right.
know, it may not always be there, at least for me, like
True.
who knows where
True.
my career is going to take me. I may not see a stage ever again. Um, but like while I have the opportunity, I want to take full advantage of it and, like attack it with everything I have.
Yeah.
So if there is a window, I would like to do it because I've seen myself like when I'm put in situations like that, I get very unique like outcomes compared to like people that just like don't take it as seriously.
Hmm.
So
So you get more focused when you're like when the pedals to the metal type of situation.
yeah, I think that's why I add so much on my plate.
Yeah.
I don't think I don't think I focus as hard if I have too much time. Cause like, this has been kind of like a down week for me because I leave Saturday.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just been running.
I know people like that, people that are like they become more efficient. So like the general thought process would be like, oh, you'll when the more time you have, the more time you have to allocate to different things and become more efficient. But like people like you, and I know other people like that too, the more things they have on the plate, the more like revved up they get and the
Yeah,
more, high performance they become. So it's interesting how like different people are and their personalities are, which is, I mean, it's a good thing. You get a lot more accomplished. So
for sure. For
yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I knew a guy, he was in the similar situation as you. He was on the brink of becoming a pro. Like he did very well at the nationals the year before.
Hmm.
And so this was going to be his year, but he also got accepted to the fire department and he had the fire department program like to go through, and it's high cardio based, so there's no
yeah,
way. So he lost a ton of muscle, and then he came back, he got it all back, and he got his pro card. But it's just amazing like what the body can do, right? Like you can just lose all that and then you can come back and gain it right back. muscle memory and all those things, but youth on your side is,
Yeah.
also there. So, yeah, but I think if you can get 15, 16 weeks in a proper peak week, I mean, I don't see why you couldn't take your pro card with no
That's what
problem.
I'm literally telling Luke, like, I'm just praying he's thinking the way that I'm thinking. I mean, like, I
Mhm.
know I'm like a little fly on the wall for him right now because he has other competitors. He's just
Right.
like keeping an eye on me. He's like, I don't have to
Mhm.
worry about this one, but like when she's in my face, she's in my face, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, it's all aligning. So I was already at Battle of Texas last year. They love me. I'm a sweetheart. I went around like the entire show, like I'm really that person. I love giving everyone
Mhm.
hugs and saying hi and like just seeing how everyone's doing, everything else. So like
Mhm.
I already have like those relationships there, you know? So it's not like they're gonna be like, oh, I don't know who this is. They know who I am. And I did as good as I did last year. So they know I'll work for it. They know I'm not
Right.
going to come up there with a crappy package or like just go on for like no freaking reason. And it's in Irving. I don't have to fly anywhere. I
Mhm.
can literally vroom vroom drive myself down there. I mean, I'm not going to drive myself, but I could drive myself down there. And I'm just like, it's freaking perfect. And
Yeah.
it's at the end of the year, like we would need it to be. It's like what, December 8th or 9th, 8th or 9th. And I would have like probably 15, 16 weeks. I think I could even make it work with 10, but hey, that's just
Yeah.
me. But 15, 16, that's great. That's a full prep. And then, we were 2 spots away on a
Yeah.
5-week prep, 2 spots away. You're telling me I placed third, just saying, you know what? Let's just go to the Olympia Amateur to see where I'm at. Give me a full prep.
Yeah.
I will be there.
Yeah. The Arnold would be cool to do too.
Yeah. The Arnold, if not, I wouldn't mind like having a growing season and then like Arnold.
Yeah.
I
I
wouldn't mind
was
that.
yeah, I was at the Arnold this year, this
Oh,
earlier
really?
March, yeah. And I mean the everyone just it was such a great event, like especially after COVID and everything kind of tore everything apart. Like
Yeah.
he and his team really did a great job. I mean, it was so much fun. It was just a blast, and all the competitors, were great, and the
Mhm.
show was great. I mean, they did a really great job. So it would be an awesome show to compete in for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, either or, I leave it
Yeah.
up to Luke and God at this
Yeah.
point. They want me to compete, I'll compete. If I don't, I just take, this time and
Mhm.
enjoy my life before,
Yeah.
dedicating it to the Marine Corps.
Right, right. Did they tell you anything to work on? Like, did they say that like you need, a certain.
I
Mhm.
didn't speak to them directly, but I definitely know my coach did, but he already knows me. I was already comparing my photos like the night each show was over. And I was like,
Mhm.
oh, this is where I need to grow. This is where I need to work. Um, Upper body was fine, wasn't struggling there. Shoulders were shouldering. They could come down just a little bit. But even if I don't do anything there, it's just my glute and ham tie-ins.
Mhm.
So if you look on my Instagram and see like my post with Kimberly, who's my posing coach, and it's just like me and my backside facing the camera, it's black and white. You
Mhm.
can see that like the glute ham tie-ins are really there. They're pronounced. But like once I got like a little bit closer to the show, they looked a little bit softer. And then on top of that, like the lighting at these shows, like it's directly on you instead of like being
Sure.
high up how like you do at home or showing your posing coach like wherever you pose, it's straight on you. So for me to be undeniable, like I would literally just have to tie those in there.
Yeah, it flushes you out, like the lighting flushes you out. I've
Oh
heard
yeah.
people say that before, that it's like they'll I mean they're ripped, but when you look at a picture of them or like even video sometimes, like the lighting will flush them out. Looks like they lost a lot of their development, which they
Right.
didn't. It's just the way it looks. You know, it's a
So
mirage.
I mean, it was a combination of like being fleshed out and then obviously only having 5 weeks to really build what
Mhm.
we wanted. So given some extra time, I definitely know that like blue hand tie-in could be there. Cause I mean, like if you look at like just like natural lighting, like my videos on my page, like the lines were where they needed to be.
Yeah.
Okay. They were fully where they needed to be. I think I just need a little bit more development in my glutes to
Mhm.
really like have that muscle push against the skin the way it should. So then
Yeah.
that tie-in looks a little bit more pronounced. I think that was really all they were concerned about. They loved my posing. They loved my stage presence. they weren't unhappy about my upper body, but like I could definitely see the shoulders were
Right.
a little bit bigger than they needed to be. But yeah.
So normally, excuse me, when I talk to people, I always tell them, they ask my opinion, I always say, you know, it's better that you become more developed as an amateur and then turn pro so you can be competitive immediately on the pro stage, as opposed to turning pro and then waiting a long time. But you're in a unique situation because you're not going to be able to compete for a couple of years, probably, for
Yeah.
sure. So it's almost better for you, go ahead and turn pro, then you have those couple years to grow, develop, and then hit the pro stage. So you're like in a very, very unique situation there.
Yeah, I think that was like the conversation I had with my coach. And he was like, we'll see. Cause
Mhm.
like I fly in come August 12th and I get through OCS. I fly in 10 p.m. that night. Come 8, 9, 10 the next morning on Sunday. I'm sending him check-in photos so he can look at my physique.
Mhm.
So I'm just really hoping, you know, like I know calories are going to be low at OCS, but
Yeah.
I'm hoping like I don't lose too much because I mean, even after coming back last year, I still didn't lose a whole lot.
Mhm.
Like I'm hoping now that like, you know, like second year bodybuilding, my body holds onto the muscle a little bit better than it did last time. And I'll be able to compete again. And Luke trusts me and lets me like compete again and knows I'll do the work. Then, you know, pro card could really be on the table. So
Yeah.
I mean, like, I have a conversation with them. I'm like, okay, I understand. Trust me. I love your protocol. I love that you have like your high standards, but I'm your unicorn. Let me be your unicorn. You know, that rare little one just running around that's gonna make it happen. So I hope I can. I really hope I can. I think he will,
Mhm.
but it'll take some convincing.
Yeah.
You know, because I
Yeah.
mean last year we didn't know until dang near show day.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've got a good, let me put it, you've got a good, you know, you've got good evidence to get to convince him, because, like
Right.
you said, you being so close on such short notice, you know, you're almost there. Let's just go ahead and give it a couple more weeks, you know, prep
Yeah.
time, and you're right there. So for sure. Well, I hope
So
that conversation goes well.
I really hope so too. You know, I'm gonna just ignore it for now. I'm gonna ignore it the day I get home too. I'll have it the next day when I didn't slept on it and just, you know, come up with my plan to convince him. I literally will make a whole document and be like, here's my evidence. I am defending this position.
Excel spreadsheets.
Literally, because that's what we operate with. Like I have like 9 different Excel sheets of like all the data he tracks for me. So yeah,
That's too
I'm
funny.
hoping. I mean, but if not, it it'll still be a good year, you know.
Sure, sure.
Even if I don't step on stage for a while, I just really think if I don't step on now, you will not see me back on stage until I'm like 25.
Sure. Well, you
And
want
I'm
to
like,
kind of hit the iron while while it's hot, right? So it's like
yeah.
you
And I'm like,
won
well,
last
my
year,
name's still relevant,
right?
you know, kind of
Sure,
relevant. I mean, like I'm a very small creator, very small competitor. I'm like, I'm still there, you know.
right,
It's building the brand. Let's build the
right,
brand.
right, right. No, you're absolutely right. I agree with you. I agree with you, and I'm sure he will too. But I agree with you. Yeah, 100%. Well, thank you for coming on the show. I
Of course. Thank
greatly,
you for having me.
greatly appreciate it. I know you've got a lot going on, as you mentioned, a lot on your plate. So this was one more
Always.
thing. Yeah. So if somebody wanted to reach out to you for, like, maybe they want, you know, some tips on training, nutrition, maybe they want to, you know, get you on the podcast to talk about everything going on. What would be the best way for them to reach out to you?
I would say either by like my Instagram, like direct messaging me like you did,
Mhm.
or by emailing me. That's also attached to my Instagram handle, like right in the bio. Um, and
Awesome.
either one of those. Do I need to list them or like will you
No,
tag
no,
me?
no, guys. I'm going to link everything at the bottom of this video to make it easy for you to reach out to her, and you know, it should be easy peasy. So,
Well, yeah.
all right. Well, thank you so much. You have a good rest of the night. Okay.
Thank you. You
All
too.
right. Take care. Bye bye.
All right.